Dear friends, we are surrounded. We're surrounded by so many problems. In the recent years, we've officially closed the door on the global warming and have entered the era of global boiling. The world economy is going through really difficult times. We're experiencing very serious inflation. In many parts of the world, people are dying from famine and hunger. The gap between the rich and the poor is becoming greater than ever. There's food shortage caused by the weather change and the Russia-Ukraine war. It's becoming more and more difficult to even keep up with all the natural disasters happening around the world. Earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, tornadoes and hurricanes, flooding, and extreme heat. Our future does not look so promising either. The sea level is constantly rising, and it will eventually sink many cities located near a body of water. Just recently, an island in Panama has gone underwater and placed nearly 30,000 people without homes. The Indonesian government is expecting their capital city, Jakarta, to be gone in the next several upcoming years. It's going to be, they're expecting it to be underwater. So they are in the process of switching the capital. Bangkok, Thailand, is facing a very similar situation. Therefore, the Thai government is now looking into moving their capital as well. The crime rate all over the world, especially in Korea, is skyrocketing. And I'm sure it's pretty much the same case in many cities. So what do we do? What do we do when we're surrounded by dangers? If you look at Exodus chapter 14, we can see the Israelites surrounded by life-threatening situations. The Israelites left Egypt, the land of their slavery, and headed toward the promised land. However, the place they arrived was a situation with no way out. At least it seemed to be no way out until God parted the Red Sea. Initially, the Israelites were chased by Pharaoh's army from right behind. They could not proceed any further because the Red Sea was blocking their way. And they found themselves in the middle of the wilderness. So pretty much they're surrounded. They were completely surrounded by dangers and life-threatening situations. So they panicked as the fear overcame them and they started to grumble against God and his servant Moses. And that's when God said to Moses to tell the Israelites the following three things. Number one, God said, do not be afraid. In Exodus chapter 14, verse 13, God said to Israelites through Moses, do not be afraid. When you're surrounded by life-threatening situations, and when you're placed in danger, do not be afraid. That's the first thing God tells you today. Do not be afraid. It means do not fear. Do not let fear overtake you. Do not let fear paralyze you. Do not let fear control you. You see, when people are afraid, we do things we normally wouldn't do. Sometimes fear disables us from reacting toward the imminent danger, it completely paralyzes us. Or sometimes fear pushes us to hastily react and make fatal mistakes. Here, God tells the Israelites, do not be afraid. It means do not let fear overtake you. Do not let fear make you jump into the ocean, jump into the Red Sea. Do not let fear shatter you into pieces. Do not let fear paralyze you. Overcome your fear. Secondly, God said through his servant Moses, stand firm. It means take a stand. Stand your ground. Be steadfast and trust in the Lord. Wait on the Lord. Do not let your faith to be shaken. Plant your feet. Do not take the easy way out. Stand firm. Thirdly, God said, you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. It means God will deliver his people. It means God will be working in the midst of his people. God will be standing between the people of God and the imminent danger. God is preparing the dry ground underneath the ocean. You see, when we go to heaven, and when all things will become so clear one day, and when we stand in the presence of God, there is one thing that will really surprise us. How dangerous our lives were. All the years that we lived on earth, how dangerous our lives were. That's what's going to really surprise us. Friends, did you know that we are always surrounded by so many dangers, yet we're not aware of them? We're surrounded by accidents, natural disasters, crimes, disease, stress, just evil people. We're always open to attacks from our enemies. We're surrounded by sinfulness of this world. There's just too much evil in this world, and we're always surrounded by this. And one day, if we go to heaven, you're just going to be so surprised. God, how did I even go through all these things? We've come this far. We've kept our faith. How? Whether we realize it or not, whether we admit it or not, God has been standing between us and all the dangers surrounding us. So I want us to take heed to his words again. As we are so surrounded by all these dangers, I want us to really take heed to his word. God is telling us today, do not fear. Do not let fear overtake you. Stand firm. Plant your feet. Do not retreat. Keep your faith. And he says, behold the salvation of the Lord. Behold the deliverance, the faithfulness, the holiness, the mightiness, the glory, and the power, and the compassion of our Lord God.